If your mind is weak, stop watching this right now. Because what I'm about to reveal isn't seduction anymore, it's the dark art of bending someone's emotions until they can't tell whether they chose you, or whether you planted the choice inside them. There's a razor-thin line between attraction and manipulation. What I'm about to show you doesn't just cross it, it obliterates it. This is emotional kidnapping, a psychological hijack that makes a woman obsess over you without even knowing why. It's not romantic. It's not fair. And it's not ethical. But it works. It works because it bypasses logic and attacks the one part of her brain she can't shut off, the part that decides what, and who, she craves. So if you're still here, I'm assuming your morals are flexible enough to hear me out. Let's dive in. The seduction most men play. Most men think seduction is a game of add more charm, add more humor, add more effort. They believe if they impress her enough, she'll choose them. That's a lie. Because when you're performing for her attention, she's in control. You're the entertainer, she's the judge. And once the performance ends, so does her interest. The darker side. Real obsession doesn't come from performance. It comes from possession, not of her body, but of her emotional state. Here's the secret: people don't fall in love with you because you're the best, or because you check all their boxes. They fall in love because of how they feel in your presence. Even deeper, they fall for the story their brain starts telling them while they're around you. And once that story becomes addictive, it doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't even matter if you're the cause. Her brain will make you the cause. How the hijacking works. When you trigger a deep emotional state, mystery, excitement, vulnerability, security, without explaining why she feels it, her mind starts searching for an explanation. And the closest explanation is you. She doesn't think, "This man is making me feel this way." She thinks, "I feel this way when I'm with him." That's the hook. That's the chain around her thoughts. Implicit control, the silent power. The second layer is what I call implicit control. You're not pushing her. You're not telling her what to do. You're not even trying to lead. You're simply moving through the interaction with quiet certainty, like you already know the ending of the story. It's not the loud, aggressive dominance that insecure men display. It's calm, grounded dominance, the kind where you never rush, never overreact, never seek her approval. She starts to feel like you know her better than she knows herself. And here's the dangerous part: when a woman feels emotionally weaker in your presence, she instinctively seeks your stability. She follows your lead without realizing she's following. Why this works so deeply? The human brain hates emotional uncertainty. If she feels something powerful around you, she needs to know why. And when you don't give her the answer, her brain keeps replaying the experience until it finds one. You become that answer. Her attachment doesn't feel like a decision anymore, it feels like chemistry. But chemistry can be manufactured. The endgame. Once you've made yourself the emotional reference point in her mind, she's no longer just attracted, she's anchored. She thinks about you without trying to. She misses you when you're gone without knowing why. And she feels drawn to you, not because of what you do for her, but because she can't separate the feeling from you. That's emotional kidnapping. It's subtle. It's silent. And when done right, it's almost impossible to escape. In the next chapter, I'll break down exactly how to plant these emotional triggers without her noticing, so that by the time she realizes what's happening, it's already too late. Chapter 2: The Three Pillars of Silent Domination. Machiavelli didn't waste time with brute force. He understood the deepest truth about power: real control is invisible. It's not the man who shouts commands who rules the room, it's the man whose presence makes people follow without ever realizing they're obeying. That's exactly how emotional kidnapping works best. Not when she sees the leash around her neck, but when she swears she's walking freely even as you guide every step. Most men? Pathetic. They come at women with arguments, validation, and clown-level entertainment. They try to win her over with logic, cleverness, and proving themselves. That's weakness. When you fight her on the battlefield of logic, you're already dead, because it's her battlefield, and she owns it. But when you slip into the shadows of emotion, you enter your territory. And in that territory, you are the hunter. She is the prey. These are the three pillars that let you take her mind apart piece by piece, until she starts thinking about you on loop and can't remember how to stop. Pillar 1. Trigger the emotional shift. Understand this, a woman who feels nothing for you is already gone. You're not competing with other men, you're competing with her boredom. Most guys think triggering emotion means making her laugh, flattering her, or acting interesting. Pathetic. That's begging for scraps. Triggering emotion means you penetrate her mental autopilot. You interrupt the steady hum of her normal life and rip her into a different state: surprise, curiosity, challenge, even mild discomfort. Anything that forces her brain to wake up. And here's the predator's trick: you do it without breaking your own composure. She has to feel the shift while you remain the calm center. That's what makes it stick. Example: she's talking, half distracted, running her standard, polite conversation script. You cut straight through it. You act like someone who doesn't care about much, but I don't buy it. You care. More than you want anyone to know. Then you stop. You don't explain. You don't soften it. You watch. She'll laugh, deny it, squint at you, maybe ask, "Why would you say that?" Doesn't matter. The reaction is the point. Weak men chase that moment, leaning in, trying to milk it. You pull back. You change the subject. You act like it meant nothing. Why? Because now she's the one left holding the question: why did he say that? Why do I care? Who the hell is this guy? And unanswered questions in a woman's mind are the first seeds of obsession. Pillar 2. Anchor the emotion to you. This is where the blade goes in deeper. When a human feels a strong emotion, excitement, fear, embarrassment, desire, the brain needs to assign it to something. It has to explain it. It has to put a name on it. If you're standing in front of her when it happens, even if you weren't the real cause, her brain will stamp your face onto that emotion. You become the symbol. The trigger. The source. Example: you teased her earlier. She laughed harder than she expected. Don't keep hammering the joke like an amateur. Instead, give her a brief, almost surgical acknowledgement: that laugh, yeah, keep that one. Then move on like it was nothing. What just happened? You branded that emotional spike with you. Now, every time she remembers that laugh, she remembers you. It's not about the joke, it's about the association. You don't tell her you made her feel it. You never explain. You just take ownership of the space where the emotion happened. And the more she links feelings to you, whether joy, tension, or intrigue, the more she needs you to keep feeling them. Pillar 3. Implicit control the predator's presence. This is the kill shot. Real dominance isn't loud. It's not barking orders. It's the silent authority of a man who moves like he already owns the outcome. You don't tell her, "Follow me." You move, and she follows without knowing why. It's not about brute strength, it's about being the emotional anchor in the room. When she's unsure, you're certain. When she's restless, you're still. When she's testing you, you're unshaken. This steadiness creates a dangerous illusion. She feels safer near you while also feeling she's not fully in control. And humans are drawn to the thing they feel both safe and challenged by. Once you become her emotional reference point, her attraction isn't a decision anymore. It's reflex. She will justify it to herself later, inventing reasons why she's drawn to you. But the truth is, you built that attraction from the ground up. You manufactured the chemistry she thinks is fate. It's not fate. It's design. It's domination wrapped in velvet. And once you know how to do it, every interaction becomes a hunt you've already won. The hunt, execution in real-time pillars are theory. Execution is where you turn theory into a weapon. This is the part most men will never master, not because it's complicated, but because it requires discipline. Weak men can't sit in silence. They can't resist explaining themselves. They can't keep the leash loose until it's time to tighten it. You will not be that man. This is how you run emotional kidnapping in the wild, step by step, like a hunt. Phase 1: Disarm the shield. Every woman you meet has a shield: sarcasm, politeness, coldness, a mask she wears to filter the men around her. Most men smash into it head-on, trying to break it with flattery or approval. That's amateur work. You don't break the shield, you bypass it. The fastest way? Talk past the surface. Ignore the mask entirely and address something underneath. Example: instead of commenting on her looks or asking basic questions, you hit her with, "You seem like the kind of person who notices everything, even when you pretend not to." It's not a question. It's an intrusion. She's not sure whether it's a compliment, a challenge, or a threat, and that confusion forces her brain into engagement. You've now stepped inside the outer walls without a fight. Phase 2: Stir the water, stay still. Once you're past the shield, you don't rush to entertain her. You drop emotional stones into the water and watch the ripples. A provocative statement. A sudden pause in your speech. A question that cuts sideways instead of head-on. The trick here? You don't react to her reaction. If she laughs, you don't laugh harder. If she challenges you, you don't defend yourself. If she flirts, you don't pounce. You remain the still point in the storm you just created. Why? Because the more you stay calm while she shifts emotionally, the more her brain links you with the center of gravity in the interaction. You become the calm she wants to return to, even when you're the one who shook her. Phase 3: Anchor and withdraw. When you've triggered an emotional spike, curiosity, excitement, frustration, you mark it. You give it a fingerprint. I like when you look at me like that. That's the real you right there, don't lose it. Then you pull away. Change the subject. Make her work to get that moment back. This withdrawal is critical. Without it, the spike fades and the memory dies. With it, she starts chasing the feeling, and chasing you as the source. Phase 4: Implicit command. This is where silent dominance becomes visible in subtle ways. You don't tell her to sit, you start walking to a table, and she sits without being told. You don't ask if she wants to leave, you stand up, and she follows. You act as if the path is already chosen, and she simply steps onto it. Humans are wired to follow certainty. When you move like a man who never doubts the outcome, she feels safer aligning with you than resisting you. And here's the twist: every time she complies, her brain rewires itself to see you as the leader in the dynamic. The more it happens, the more natural it feels. Until one day, she's following you without ever remembering when she decided to. Phase 5: the tightening of the leash. By now, the emotional anchors are set. You've triggered spikes, marked them, withdrawn, and made her follow your lead without asking. At this stage, you increase the emotional contrast. You give her the high of your attention, then you vanish. You let her feel secure, then you shake it with a subtle challenge. You pull her in, then let her wonder why you're pulling back. This creates the addiction cycle. She starts to crave the next hit of your attention because she can't predict when it will come. And unpredictability is the strongest glue for emotional fixation. Once you've run this sequence enough times, you no longer have to do anything. You've built a psychological ecosystem where you are both the cause of her highs and the cure for her lows. That's when the game is over. Not because she's lost, because she surrendered.